favorites is, this is kind of rubber plasticky, but cheap power cords. I mean, we're in a whole world full of electricity, and we're never worried about getting electrocuted. And the reason is because we have an especially engineered coating of oil to insulate all the current in here and keep us completely safe. Speaking of insulation, what's keeping us at a comfortable temperature in this room? Not just the heating and cooling system in the building, but the fact that it has insulation, which saves it probably hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. Insulation is another petroleum product. Any kind of coating, just about everything, no matter what it's made of, in debates, even if it's metal or wood or whatever, almost everything is coated. I don't have a book in front of me right now, but the pages of the book are coated with petroleum product in order to make them last longer. The cover of the book is coated, and by the way, the ink is made out of oil as well. And this is especially important when you're in any kind of environment where you really want safety. So like the coatings on the inside of your refrigerator, those help keep your food safe. The coatings on the refrigerator of a hospital help keep their food safe. A hospital, if you look at the stuff in a hospital, it's basically just one giant coat of oil. Because if it didn't have that, it wouldn't be nearly as sanitary and safe. Adhesives, anything that's stuck together by any means, is just about almost certainly made of oil. So oil is really performing all of these incredible functions in our life. And often they're life and death functions. They're keeping people alive rather than letting them die. They're making you more comfortable rather than less comfortable. They're making you more wealthy rather than less wealthy. I remember I was giving this talk once in Utah, and I'm from Southern California, so I didn't even think to, I just assumed that it was going to be just as warm everywhere as it was where I lived. And that turned out not to be true. And so I was on my way, and I had to go to Walmart really quick to get a winter jacket. And they had a winter jacket for $10. And I knew, without even looking at it, that the whole thing had to be a petroleum product, because there's no other way that a jacket could be that cheap. But because the oil industry has managed to figure out how to manufacture, the petrochemical industry, I should say, has figured out how to manufacture clothing so cheaply, and because the oil industry produces oil in such abundance, someone who would be huddling outside on the street and really suffering and in danger of dying could have a warm jacket for $10, thanks to the genius of this industry. So this is really an incredible value in our lives. So whenever we hear about, get rid of your addiction to oil, you have to think about what that actually means in reality. Part of what it means is life-saving petroleum products. So that's the first category. And there's a million. There's probably like 6,000 major petroleum products. And just as an aside, as an addition, it's not only that we should think about it, but I think it's when people call oil an addiction, if they're not talking about what we're really getting from it, it's really unjust to people who spend their whole lives producing this stuff. And we just had a recent tragedy in the oil industry where there was an explosion. Now, fortunately, the oil industry is pretty safe. There aren't that many explosions in it. But there was an explosion, these people died. And we have a society that basically tells them, what you do for a living is a bad thing. You shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't be doing it. Now, maybe at the eulogy, they'll say something nice, like Obama said something nice at the coal miners' eulogy, even though he had said that 2 years ago the coal industry should cease to exist and we wanted to see it all go bankrupt. But, because it was a bad thing to do. But, these people were doing something real that was really benefiting our lives. So even if we ultimately have problems with it, even if we ultimately the problems outweigh the benefits, we have to acknowledge the benefits to be fair. Okay, so let's move on to portable energy. So petroleum products are about 15% of the oil we use. 15% of 3 gallons a day is petroleum products. Most of the rest of the oil we use is directly and indirectly portable energy. So let's think about the significance. Oil is the most concentrated, safest, most dense form of energy that is really widely available. And as such, it allows us to perform things that nothing with it and nothing else can do. So I have a couple of categories of this, but let's just think about for a minute the significance of portable energy and really the significance of energy. And came into the room that we were in right now, from 200 years ago, if anyone came like in a time travel, one thing you would just be astounded by is just the sheer amount of stuff in our world. All the buildings and ships and planes and clothes. And you would say, among other things, how the hell did you guys have the time to do, how did you do this? How did you build a skyscraper? I mean, how did a horse help you put that stuff up and put it? And what you would have had to tell him is, well, did you become superhuman? Did you become all Hercules or something like that? And you would have to say, no, we're still, we as humans essentially are weak in the scheme of things. We're physically weak. We can lift all the weights we want, but we cannot physically construct a skyscraper. So the thing that allows us to build up a civilization and to build everything we need in our lives is massive, massive amounts of man-made power. And in particular, for our discussion today, we need massive amounts of portable man-made power. So, for instance, we need all kinds of mobile machinery to extract materials from the earth. I mentioned that a lot of things in this room are made of oil. Just about everything else in this room was extracted or cultivated using oil. So, oil-based farm equipment, oil-based mining equipment. If you ever look at this stuff, it's just gigantic and it's so powerful and it's extracting things in such huge quantities. And if it wasn't doing that, then we wouldn't have really the standard of living we have. We wouldn't have this building. This building is built using oil, using mobile machinery. The elements are extracted using oil, and they're put together using oil. So when you need a lot of power in a new place to do any kind of development, oil is the thing that's doing the job. And that's because the oil industry produces it in such quantity and has developed it into all kinds of different kinds of oil products to meet different needs. So for instance, this is the kind of oil that goes into a jet, let alone a rocket ship, is different than the kind of oil that goes, that's ultimately powering the generator that powers a jackhammer or a crane. So it's all different kinds of energy, of oil energy products. Now, just to drive this point home, if you see somebody talk about a solar installation or a windmill installation, and talk about how this is the most amazing thing, remind him that was made by oil-powered equipment. A windmill does not have enough power to make a windmill. You need about 100 windmills to generate power to make a windmill. Even then, you have to pray that the wind was blowing at the right time. Solar doesn't generate enough energy to produce solar. So even our whole green energy, and by the way, for most people don't know, but a wind farm to produce the same amount of energy as a natural gas plant takes 50 times as much concrete and steel. So it's a hell of a lot of oil that's producing this new plant. So this whole area of mobile power, mobile machinery is so important. Another area in which it's important is what we can call broadly commercial transportation. Drive from this point, just go around your house when you get home and look at the label on every single thing and look at where it's made. And you'll see that these things are just made in all kinds of crazy places around the world, where in the past people, 200 years ago, people had things that were made maybe 2 miles away, but not much more than that. And yet we have things made around the world. Now why are we getting everything from China and Japan and Sweden and all these different places? It's not because it's exotic and we want to be cool and foreign and get stuff from those places. It's because the best, cheapest stuff is available from those places. And this follows from what we learned in economics class, hopefully, which is the principle of the division of labor, where people are much more